Look closely at these two diamonds. One was pulled from a mine in Africa. The other was grown in a factory in a Chinese county that 20 years ago farmed chili peppers. Same structure, same composition. A gemologist with 30 years experience can't tell them apart. One of these helped destroy a $100 billion empire. The other is the exact same stone. And the difference between them is the biggest misdirection in modern geopolitics. You've probably seen the headlines: China crashed the diamond market, prices down 90%, De Beers, the cartel that ruled diamonds for a century, bleeding $500 million a year. That part is true. It's also the distraction, because while the world watched the price of engagement rings collapse, China quietly took control of a different diamond, the one that cools every advanced AI chip on the planet. The material the next generation of computers, weapons, and quantum machines depends on. And for 29 days in the autumn of 2025, Beijing showed the entire world it could shut the supply off whenever it wanted. The diamond crash was never the story, it was the cover. This is how a chili farming county stole the most strategic material of the AI age, while everyone was looking at the jewelry. To understand the theft, you have to understand the lie it replaced, because the price of a diamond was never real. Someone held it there on purpose for 100 years. In 1888, a British businessman named Cecil Rhodes worked out one simple thing: control the supply of something, and you control its price. He bought up South Africa's diamond mines one by one until his company, De Beers, at its peak, controlled close to 90% of the world's rough diamond supply. But owning the mines wasn't enough. De Beers locked millions of carats in vaults, stones already dug up, and held them back so the market never flooded. Scarcity wasn't found in the ground, it was manufactured in a boardroom. Then, in 1947, they solved their last problem. Americans didn't actually want diamonds, so De Beers hired an ad agency, and that agency wrote 4 words that rewired a civilization: a diamond is forever. It convinced the world that a ring was the only serious way to propose, and that you never, ever resell it. Demand controlled as tightly as supply. It was later named the advertising slogan of the century. It was also the most profitable lie in retail history. For 100 years, it worked with surgical precision, until someone figured out how to make more. Here is what a century of manufactured scarcity looks like when it finally breaks. A decade ago, a 1-carat lab-grown diamond sold wholesale for around $4,000. Today, that identical stone goes for under $200. A collapse of more than 90%, one of the fastest corrections any market has ever seen. And it wasn't a niche. Lab-grown went from 1% of diamond sales to 20% in under a decade. By 2024, they were a majority of American engagement rings, 52%, up from just 12% in 2019. The workshops of Antwerp and Surat, the twin capitals of the trade, gutted their staff. And the king, De Beers, posted a $511 million underlying loss. Its parent, Anglo-American, wrote the company down by $2.3 billion the 3rd year in a row, and now wants out entirely. The company that invented artificial scarcity was killed by infinite supply. Poetic. But if that were the whole story, it wouldn't be much of a heist, because the people who built the machine that killed De Beers were never interested in jewelry at all. 20 years ago, if you'd flown over Zhejiang County in central China, you'd have seen chili fields. That same county now grows nearly half the world's diamonds. They do it with a process called HPHT, high pressure, high temperature. You take carbon, apply the kind of pressure you'd find 150 kilometers underground, push past 1400 degrees, and the carbon crystallizes. In nature, that takes 1 billion years. In a factory in Henan, it takes 7 days. And here's the part nobody mentions. China didn't start doing this for wedding rings. It made its first synthetic diamond in 1963, cut off from the West, unable to buy the industrial diamond every heavy industry needs to cut, drill, and grind. For 50 years, those factories made abrasive powder. Then, around 2015, the presses got precise enough to cross the gem quality line, almost by accident. Today, China produces over 90% of the world's lab-grown diamonds and controls roughly 95% of industrial production. More than 80% of it sits in Henan. Nobody builds that kind of capacity for a luxury market that's already collapsing. They build it because the stone does something else entirely. This is the something bigger. A diamond is one of the best heat conductors that exists, about 5 times better than copper, 13 times better than silicon. And unlike copper, it's an electrical insulator. For a computer chip that cooks itself under load, that combination is the holy grail. Synthetic diamond heat spreaders let chips run faster, hotter, and longer without melting. They're already inside power semiconductors, radar, and the exact class of high-end processors the AI arms race is built on. The same chips NVIDIA is racing to keep cool, its next-generation Vera Rubin GPUs, drawing some 2,300 watts each. Give a diamond the right atomic flaw, and it becomes something else again. One of the most sensitive magnetic sensors ever built, the backbone of quantum sensing, brain imaging, and military systems designed to detect things that don't want to be found. The market noticed when word spread that Chinese diamond might cool the next generation of AI chips. One maker's stock jumped 51% in a single week. This was the moment the stone stopped being a gem and started becoming a component, and whoever controls the component controls the machine. Now watch what Beijing did with that power. On October 9th, 2025, China's Commerce Ministry issued Announcement 55. It placed export controls on industrial synthetic diamond, the single crystals, and the machines that grow them, and bundled it with rare earths as a strategic resource. Read the fine print, and the whole misdirection snaps into focus. The controls covered the industrial material and the equipment. They pointedly excluded decorative jewelry. The engagement rings, the part the whole world was watching, were never the target. The target was the factory and the thing it makes for chips. Then something stranger happened. 3 weeks later, Xi and Trump met in Busan and cut a deal. And on November 7th, China suspended the controls for exactly 1 year, expiring November 10th, 2026. Read that carefully. They didn't back down. They switched the weapon on, held it up for the whole world to see, and then set it back on the table with a timer running, a demonstration, a loaded gun holstered, because the point was never to fire it. The point was to make sure everyone knew they could. If this pattern feels familiar, it should. Rare earths, gallium, germanium, graphite, every time, the same move. Find a material the world treats as boring, build the industry to make it at a scale nobody can match, and then, quietly, own the switch. China's newest 5-year plan, approved in 2026, names new materials a strategic priority, right beside semiconductors and quantum. The synthetic diamond wasn't the end of that strategy. It was the first domino you were allowed to see. So look at those 2 diamonds one more time. De Beers spent a century making you believe a shiny rock was priceless. China spent 50 years making sure that when the rock finally mattered, when it became the thing that cools the machines running the future, they would own the mine, the machine, and the switch. The ring on your finger was never the prize. It was the misdirection. If you want the stories the headlines bury, subscribe.